feedback. And there's no feedback. It's just, there's 27 people there. There's, you know,
well, you get to see the clicks
people.
and see how far they click. And if they mark favorite, it's also telling you that they liked it enough to tell their buyer's agent.
Yeah.
I can't force buyer's agents to do that part of it, but this is a great way for you to do it. Now, with that said, in all fairness, I'm going to give you some stories that I've gotten in the past. And the best one I can give you was one recently. I was giving a class in the West Side, and well, this is the West Side, but in the Santa Monica area. I had a gentleman who happens to be a friend of mine who was looking at this, and he had had his listing for $1.4 million listed for 6 months, holding open houses every Sunday, and nobody was showing up. And he had got to see how this featured work, and he goes, wow, listing book's telling me that there was 15 buyers looking for this house, and none of them had showed up to my open house in the last 6 months. He goes, I really should try something because my seller is starting to tell me that he's getting nervous that I'm not doing my job, even though I hold it open every weekend. I said, well, try advertising it. I always hear great success stories of this. He goes, $24.95. Now, if you knew my friend, he's extremely cheap. I mean, very, very cheap. So $24.95 to him was like, you know, dinner for 3 nights with guests because he's using coupons. So he said, well, I don't know, $24.95 for 7 days. I said, well, if you pulled out an ad in the paper for 7 days, that would cost you a whole lot more. He goes, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. I said, point taken. So he said, well, all right, I don't know if I should do it, though. It's 15 people. I said, 15? It only takes one person out of the 15. I said, all right, I'll make you a deal. You try it. If it's not successful, I'll give you $10 back of your $24.95, and I'll buy you coffee. So he tried it. In fact, we were short 2 days from the 7 days of actually promoting it. He promoted it, held his open house. It's a great story. He said, I'm calling you. It's Tuesday after the open house. He says, I'm calling you to tell you how it went. Now, he's doom and gloom. I mean, he really is that gray cloud, talks very slow. I said, well, I sent it out. I said, so how many people opened it? He goes, 15. I said, 15 out of the 15 opened it. I said, that's awesome. I go, and? He goes, I don't know. And I said, well, how'd the open house go? He goes, 11 people showed up. And I said, 11 people where you had none. I said, don't you think that's successful? He goes, I don't know. I said, did you ask them? Did they find it through listing? He goes, I didn't have to. I could kind of tell by what they were saying. I said, so what, did you find it successful? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, Monday I got an offer for it. I said, so you're calling me? And he goes, just wanted to know if you want a Venti or a Grande. I know, I'll get a card from him only for the price of the coffee, because that's how he is. And he probably won't even mail it to me and try to find me in one of the trainings that I'll be at, because that's how cheap he is. So, it works. I've seen it work. We have actually did statistics, and I want to make sure that you guys understand. They found that the average agent waited 100 days before panicking to try the last thing that they can think of, which was what? Listing book. Even though it's there, because it's not traditional advertising, they weren't used to it. They wait 100 days. Now, what we found is that the activity on their showing of their property, even through listing book, went up really high, then stayed up, then kind of went down. So you're getting more people viewing it. So don't discard what it may do for you, especially now with the 340,000 people that are there. Go back to your seller and discuss, listen, I'm just giving you results that I couldn't get from a paper. May not mean something today, may mean something tomorrow, may get us an offer. But what it is doing is positioning your property in different places of listing book to let them know that your property's there. And I would never tell your seller how much you spent on it, by the way. Always let them know you spent thousands of dollars on it, because it's very pricey. So again, with these reports and being able to go back to them, it shows them that you're doing something. And I tell everybody, listen, just by assigning your client their property to them is going to show them what kind of activity they had. I'd rather them discuss how many clicks they got the next day than me having to call up and say, by the way, Mr. Seller, could you tell me, are there any cards on that counter? Because if there's not, then that means trouble for what? Me as a buyer, the selling agent. Because I'm not doing what? My job to getting more people through the house. But now I can discuss activity that's actually happening through the internet. There are 3 slides that I will forward to your company for you guys that talks about where buyers come from, how they find homes on the internet, so that you can use that during your listing presentation. I'll also forward the slide that shows you that we're 4th most viewed website, so that you can tell them that you're really taking this to where buyers are working from. so that you can use on your listing presentation. And then the third slide, I will give you copies of the reports so that you don't have to print those out. Does that make sense? So we'll make it into a nice little slide so that shows it and you can discuss it rather than saying, here, let me make more copies of something I don't have to.
I have a question for you. When
Yes.
we assign the property, then we can get around the 5-mile radius by putting a price in there, right?
That is the CMA. Assigning the property is just the competition.
But
The CMA does
competition
that.
it's looking at though, is it still 5-mile radius?
No, that's a square that you define. Remember that
Okay, so
square?
we can make it smaller.
You can make it smaller there, yes. But again, encourage them. Go back and encourage them to do the quick search because they're going to tell you more things that they have not told you. Okay? You'll find out more of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, by having them do quick searches. Okay? There is one large company who is spending millions and millions of dollars trying to find one word that they call capturing them in the dream. They said they don't know what to do, how to capture buyers and sellers while they're dreaming. Guess what? You do have something. It's called listing book. If you can capture them while they're dreaming and thinking and watching what they're doing, guess what? You're way ahead of the game and not having to wait until they've already made a decision with them. Okay? So make sure that you use that as that point for listing book. Now, a great way for getting a farm area. You guys ready? If you want to break into a new market, call up your title rep. Call up your title rep and ask them to give you anyone who has bought in the last 3 years. Anyone who bought in the last 3 years. Handwrite them a note, let them know that you're a real estate agent who just got a great new tool so that they can keep track of their investment, and try to market them that way because let me tell you, again, agents don't like to talk to their past clients about their market, so why not talk to them for them since they're not going to do that. Number one complaint with NAR is still, never heard from my realtor after I bought the home from them. Well, it's not that they didn't hear from you, they just didn't hear what they wanted to hear from you. They may have gotten the pumpkin, they may have gotten the magnet, but that didn't help them with anything of what they were thinking of. Okay? So it's a great way for you to keep in touch. So again, farm areas, real easy to also get with this. You can actually walk through farm areas and give them something of value, which is, hey, wouldn't you like to see what your neighbor's selling their house for? I've got a tool that'll let you keep track of your investment, your neighborhood, and things that are going on in different areas. Okay? Any questions so far? Redondo Beach, you still there?
Here.
Oh, good. Any questions over there?
I got a question off topic. When will Listing Book have units that we can search for?
Well, I'm going to give you the standard answer that I've been given for a year. Soon. The information's now on Carrots. So I know because of the search screens, they're still having to work that out. I told my company that that is like the third most asked question in any training, so they know it's real important to us. So hopefully very soon. I know that they're done with the new website, and that frees up a lot of our programmers. So let's cross our fingers and hope that we'll come up with units soon. But for those people who just asked that question, your investors still love this product because they like to know what area they're buying their properties in. So let them see what the rest of the area is doing by giving them access to this. And then they'll also keep track of their home as well. So don't ever say no to the investors. Give it to them first. In fact, you'll find groups of people like dentists, attorneys, who all have financial groups that would love to have a tool like this so that they can search properties and keep track of who's searching on what for their little groups. Okay, so here it's telling me that I've actually promoted this. I went onto the front page. If I wanted to see if I had any properties promoting, I can go in here. I know of one guy out in Yorba Linda right now who's decided that this is the only way he's advertising. He stopped all kinds of print advertising. So when you go on, you see his 12 listings at all times being featured or open house through Listing Book because he was sold after the first one he put in, sold within a week of advertising it because it went straight to a buyer who didn't know. I had some guy with a $34 million listing in Beverly Hills, and he found 2 buyers through Listing Book. He goes, I didn't even know there was one out there. Just to think that they're using Listing Book. And by the way, if you're not giving it to your sellers, other agents are. Don't walk in on finding your agents or your sellers searching with somebody else's account, which we've heard of. So there.